Though it's hot as ever in Texas, I'm craving all things fall. So, like many others, I turned to TV to celebrate the season early. This year, I want to visit a very specific place, a cozy harvest festival. And I have an elusive idea of what that entails: mulled cider, carnival games, layered fall outfits, a community coming together to celebrate. But when I sought this out in the most obvious source, Gilmore Girls, I was disappointed. That inspired me to explore three iconic harvest festivals with you: the one in Gilmore Girls, Parks and Rec, and Good Witch. In part for the whimsy, but also to ask which show offers the coziest, most immersive fall experience. I've broken this up into 4 elements, starting with cozy or themed outfits. The first instance of Gilmore Girls' Autumn Festival occurs in Season 1, Episode 7. This is the best representation of the fest in the show, but if you blink, you might miss it. Lorelai and Rory's opening walk and talk sequence occurs through the town center, which is technically festival grounds. Lorelai is wearing a chocolatey brown sweater and skirt set with a light leather jacket. This is perfect. Later, we get the only real instance of characters interacting with the fest as Rory and her bestie Lane man a booth in pilgrim costumes. It's fine, it's just not what I would have wanted. Like on theme, but kind of tragic. When it comes to Parks and Rec, the series Harvest Fest is in Season 3, Episode 7. While the time we spend there is much greater, the outfits are pretty basic. We're talking uniforms that match one another and business casual attire. Luckily, we can turn to Good Witch Halloween, which is a 2-part special that kicked off Season 2. Here we have a combination Harvest Festival, as the townspeople are also celebrating Halloween. That means we get costumes, and I love how some of these appear last minute or homemade. For example, Abigail is dressed as a cat, wearing a black skater skirt. It's almost like she threw it together or already had it from a previous year. It's a nice, more realistic touch. One of the final shots of the episode pans out on the townsfolk dancing and finishing out the night, all in their costumes, and it's very endearing. Let's talk about seasonal treats, or lack thereof. This is more of a side tangent, but while looking at all these shows, I realized that they're severely lacking in tasty seasonal food. Parks and Rec has cotton candy, Good Witch gets blood punch. Where's the all-you-can-eat pumpkin pie contest? Or one apple cider booth? I'm really just floating this out as an observation and wanting to ask you if you can think of an event or fest pictured in a TV show or movie that does this really well. Comment, let me know. This next point is the catalyst for making this video. I want to talk about transformed sets, specifically hay bale mazes. This is hands down my favorite aspect of fall harvest festivals. I initially pictured Gilmore Girls as having the most iconic one, and this is why. In episode 18 of season 7, Taylor spends the entire town's budget on a giant hay bale maze. The maze essentially takes over the town. It's huge.
That's what she said.
But it also serves as a conduit for difficult conversations between characters, ones that are avoiding each other or needing to take the next step in their relationship. I also think the maze comes at such an interesting time in the series, just 4 episodes away from the finale. I imagine the writers were navigating their own series of difficult decisions like a maze. How do we leave these beloved characters behind? How much of their story still needs to be told? And how do we satisfy this fan base? But what if I told you this was actually for the Spring Fling Festival? Does it even count? Finding this out was essential to my journey of considering different harvest festivals, and I think to me it really solidifies the fact that the Harvest Festival in Gilmore Girls is so lacking because of what it could have been. Good Witch gets a maze of its own too, and similarly, it serves to unite a reluctant son and father and pave over a time in their relationship. That leaves Parks and Rec, and I really love that at the beginning of the episode, we have the team meeting at the office, which has served as the headquarters for fall festival planning. And for that reason, pumpkins and dried fall foliage are stacked. It really sets the scene. Then when we get to the actual fall festival, it's larger than life. We have a roller coaster, a Ferris wheel, a merry-go-round, petting zoo animals, and I immediately am thinking, how did they afford to do this? Because of budget constraints and also why not, they actually filmed at the Halloween Harvest Festival at Los Angeles Pierce College in California. And I'm so glad that they did, because characters get to go through this giant corn maze. And believe it or not, Andy and April are actually navigating a difficult time in their relationship. One of them said, "I love you," and the other didn't respond in the way that they wanted. So they're in the maze sorting through their problems. Again, I'm loving the use of mazes in media. Lastly, I asked, is there a community feel to these episodes? This is what Leslie Knope and the Parks and Rec team do best. Their team is a mini community in and of itself. But we also have community members like Chief Ken Hote and eccentric TV personality Joan Calamezzo popping in. This culminates in a very populated Harvest Festival, and the final pan out of the episode feels larger than life. But maybe you're into a small town feel instead. When you head over to Good Witch, you get more activities and an evening gathering. So it just feels like a fuller execution of the Harvest Festival. While community members seem to be involved in the Harvest Fest in Stars Hollow, Miss Patty is actually the best representation of this, as she has students in full autumnal garb preparing for a dance recital. I even caught Luke being resistant to decorating the diner, and I thought, okay, I think you won. Like, the town isn't trying that hard for this Harvest Fest. The background pumpkins can only do so much. In conclusion, Gilmore Girls Fall Festival is noticeably absent. We walk through it, and Rory volunteers at it for 5 minutes. It's background noise, harvest ambiance. And this comes up time and time again as one of the most iconic fall TV shows to rewatch. So I'll definitely be thinking of that going into my rewatch this season. Like, I'm wondering if it's just the fall foliage alone that's really carried this concept, or maybe the layered outfits that people love so much. I'll say it feels like a missed opportunity, especially if you've watched the show and see how things like the Winter Festival are truly interacted with. There are special treats, activities, and real conversations happening that just make it feel like they're actually spending time there. By contrast, Parks and Rec has an elaborate fall festival, and conflict hinges on the characters creating it. So it almost feels like a character in and of itself that has to be supported. Finally, I'm just gonna say it, I think Good Witch nails the fall festival, and of course it does because of its Hallmark roots, an entity that lives and breathes seasonal coziness. Their Harvest Festival incorporated the plot, characters spend real time there, and the overall set design is just super warm and inviting. But tell me, have you ever thought a little bit too hard about Harvest Festivals and their depiction in TV and movies? And that's the end of the video. If you made it this far, I think you should consider subscribing. This is our little nostalgic corner of the internet where I tend to talk about 90s and 2000s TV shows and movies. You should know my favorite part about being on YouTube is responding to comments, so let me know your thoughts. Thanks so much for watching, and until next time, wishing you well.
Thanks for playing.